Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And today I'm with a special natal chart guest, Thierry Baudet. And if you wonder who that guy is, well, I heard about him from David Icke, aka Plot Twist X Unblock David Icke. And I have absolutely no idea who's the guy. I heard he's actually considered a far-right politician in the Netherlands from party FVA. Okay. And I'm going to basically take a look at the chart right now. And this is part one, because first I'm looking at the chart and I know absolutely nothing about the person. So he was born in January 28, 1983. So he's a little bit older than me. It's around my age. He's 41 and 40. He has ascendant on Algol. So 26 Taurus ascendant with Venus in the 10th house. And Venus here is 28 degrees Aquarius. He has Chiron 22 degrees Taurus, which is right on where Uranus was when I did Water Expands Upon Cooling. So we'll see how that one plays out. It literally is on my lot of spirit. But there's a Chiron there, which is a wounded healer point, and he's not 50 yet. So it's interesting. His sun, 7 degrees Aquarius. He has Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the beginning of Sagittarius. So this is Jupiter-Uranus and Sagittarius. Is one of the Jupiter-Uranus voices, and we know this is a leading voice, developer of new philosophy, new technology. This could be great astrologer, by the way. I'm not sure if he isn't. They're all enmeshed in secret societies. It's true, I heard about him from Ika, but yes, he's politician, so must be. Another thing is he has Saturn and Pluto in Scorpio. Saturn 4 degrees Scorpio. Pluto 29 degrees Libra. That would be his 6th house, because he's Taurus ascendant, and Saturn 4 degrees Scorpio. The Saturn-Pluto, okay, this is right before I was born. There was financial crisis, and the children of the Saturn-Pluto are kind of like the children, not of the depression is a big word, but they had to deal with a lot of constraints, a lot of rules. So that's coming from the 6th to the 7th, which is very interesting. Saturn in the 7th. So his Mars is 8 degrees Pisces, okay, ruled by this Jupiter that's with Uranus in Jupiter's home sign, but in the 8th house. Jupiter-Uranus in the 8th, I suspect he was grown expendable child with this aspect. I don't know anything, but I know they all are. So right to left, front to back, right to left, male to female, hermaphrodite to gender non-conforming. And so, yes, his moon. First of all, his Rahu, 3 degrees Cancer, which means Ketu, 3 degrees Capricorn. Midheaven, 24 Capricorn, in the 9th house. Okay, ruled by Saturn, which is in the 7th house. Yes. And the moon, where was his moon? Moon Leo, no? I think his moon in the beginning degrees of Leo. Neptune, if Pluto is sextile in Neptune, that would be Neptune. So, end of Libra, end of Scorpio, end of Sag. Yes, I don't remember exactly for this Neptune. So let's talk about this. Oh, and I don't remember where Lilith is, which is going to be important. There would be a part 2 for that. The Lilith eclipses are all Lilithing. So first of all, what got me to talk about him? Yes, I listened to David Icke, and he mentioned before he came to Amsterdam to talk about what the control of the media and the financial involvement and so on and so forth. He met, he had the person that was inviting him to talk in Amsterdam. His name was Mordecai. He was Jewish, but he was tagged later as Holocaust denier. And he said there's another Dutch politician that is going kind of against the grain, and that would be Thierry Baudet, and he's considered apparently far right wing. So I said I must do spirit of matter. Let's talk about the chart. I know nothing about the person. First of all, ascendant Algol. I don't know if Algol was minima at this time, and Venus at the ruling over 22 degree Chiron, Venus at the 10th house. So Venus in Aquarius, and the ruler of the 10th house in the 7th. So this is, first of all, can be a situation where through partnership, business, or marriage, his career would be promoted, or through career, that would be promote partnership, but it's less our business. And so that can mean that he was rising to his career and growing towards, let's say, his Saturn maturation and his Saturn return. That will be age 28 and 36. He's 41 now. Algol can give. Algol means that this person deals with issues and with Venus in Aquarius of humanitarian issues to do with women or the feminine. If I put it from the context, and my big theoretical context actually comes from another ex-Dutch politician from PFDA, completely different parties, but this is for the channel Mama versus Mafia. You can find her on YouTube. And she was married to a banker of Robobank, and she was exposed to the cult, and she said she doesn't want to be part of the cult, and she was a politician in PFDA, and now she is exposing the cult with all the people involved with this. So when I bring into her testimonial and the abundance of information she brings, when I put it all together, I believe that Meneer Baudet was exposed to the attempt of the cult to do hermaphrodite, which is basically to cancel gender polarity. By the way, in A-bombs, after A-bombs, nature developed sexual polarity. So they could control for diversity of sexual polarity through atomic bombing, is something we only know prior to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but also prior to Chernobyl. It's also how nature corrects for itself. Okay, you try to create a hermaphrodite, then there's nuclear holocaust, then there is more sexual polarity. Okay, we have to eventually work with the wits of nature and find our own interest within it rather than against it. But they would tell me, but that's what we say. Okay, that's okay. Then it's very likely he was exposed to trying to create for these hermaphrodites, and so his career has to do with some sort of a definition of the feminine banking and global banking, because Aquarius is about all humanity. Okay, whether you want to control for all humanity in Aquarius, this is why all these things, all this research happening towards Pluto ingressing into Aquarius, because they try to establish a hold over the entire world. They would never try to exercise power this much. It's just the role of power. Power is silent. It's not. If you have to exercise power, you've lost power. Power essentially, its very core essence is love. When you have to exercise power, you go out of the alignment with love, and you go more and more out of the alignment until there's no longer loving and you can no longer excuse it. And I think it's very likely Meneer Baudet was exposed very likely to that. with ascendant Algol, I don't know how much, Uranus in the 8th house is very much giving of a person who's occultistic. Naturally, it could be through the shocks that they went through as children. He's very likely been through satanic ritual abuse. I don't think I'm exposing him because it's all across the board. Politicians and public figures have been through that. In fact, if he would ever like to discuss that, then I would need adjusted technology, but I would more than likely to give my platform as place for such people to make their testimonial. And so with a goal, you must respect dignity of people on sexual, financial, body, psychology level. Okay, I talk a lot about Algol, about Beta per se, so much. Okay, Trump is in big problems, but because he's having problems with doing so, but he's also eclipse child, so it's a different complication. Taliban, all the people involved in Taliban, mid-heaven Algol, same as Donald Trump, are big troubles because of what they teach. They teach you that if you put a point on Algol, you will be able to gain a lot of wealth through performing ritual sacrifice, of rape, of torture, and this is exactly for what Algol brings karma to and stands against. This is why if you think about Taliban, they're all expandable, all the people die all the time. Okay, this is it's the difference if you learned it in Luciferian school of where the secrets cults are, or if you learned it self-taught and you were exposed to various views of Algol. And so it's very likely Pierre Baudet had some sort of revelation towards that, and he would have to be serving of what I think would come about, because I know he's right wing, would be sexual polarity. So he may believe that through sexual polarity and maintaining sexual polarity, because he was exposed to hermaphrodites, he can serve for humanity, not to lose sexual polarity on a humanity level, because that would bring to nuclear damage, which will eventually create sexual polarity. Yes, but this is important, and I think he can see that in larger scale, and this Uranus in his 8th house, forcing him to study some sort of either astrology or some sort of similar science. Okay, there are all kind of sciences that are like astrology. If you think about frequency, if you think about programming, okay, and Uranupiter. Okay, if I'm idealizing this person because of you, it's on your bloody hands. But but I think yes. I think that the Uranupiter can give a place where a person tries to find, and his solar chart, okay, his day chart, sun above horizon, he could try to find a point of consciousness, Jupiter, where he can deprogram of what the cultist program that he had been receiving as child. And he would have the geniussy, I don't know if it's eclipse child, but I don't think it's eclipse child, but he would have the geniussy to deprogram, okay? On the other hand, Steve Jobs, I think, yes, also had Jupiter-Uranus. He didn't use it that way, okay? He changed the world indeed and so on, but he didn't use it that way. I think the combination of Algol and Uranus in the 8th house were the only thing that would help him to change that. It would be if he would begin to take sovereignty over his spirituality, and this create for radical religion, but different religion to the radical religion that, or philosophy, could be atheism as well, of science. I would really be interested in the occultistic value this man has to teach. Yes, it's in my 10th house, very close to my Ketu. Okay, so maybe he's been my teacher in past life, I don't know. And now I'm giving astrology reading. But this is a person that has a spark of genius, but it was a spark of genius that sparked from spark of trauma, and perhaps trying to change or absolve of this trauma, for definitely trying to wake people up. But because the ruler of Jupiter, but the ruler of the 8 in the 8, it kind of stays in the 8, and he needs something to bring it out of the 8, which would go by the Aquarius archetype. And Aquarius archetype and Venus there in the 10th house, which ruling his ascendant. So ruler of the 1st in the 10th is meaning a person who's rise to nobility, rise to nobility. For nobility, you know. Nobility, but it could be this person that tries to execrate the cult and use his high social status to wake people up. And through the means of Aquarius, there is relations between his sun and his 8th house. There is trine relations. So if you can capitalize on this Sol trine Uranus, Sol sextile Uranus, Sol sextile Jupiter, that would be magnificent to bring in the occult, to bring in this knowledge outside. He's very likely doing that. Yes, Rahu in beginning of Cancer, Moon in Leo. So the Sun is also ruling for this Moon. This means that as leader, he has good competence as leader of the people. He can be very populist leader, and he would make people feel like they reign, so they're sovereign. And he has this deep desire to do so because his Rahu is in Cancer. Okay? So he's very populist leader, has desire to have people at least feeling sovereign. This is where and very likely he's still being used by agenda because they believe maybe he can make people feel sovereign in a non-sovereign regime. Okay, but if I heard about him from David Icke, is likely not what he wants. So it's very, very fascinating. Saturn Scorpio is not malefic out of sect. Okay, Saturn Scorpio for him is actually good benefic. Is a person who is able to create enduring partnerships. It's important for international relations. Enduring partnerships with loyalty and commitment. That unfortunately can make him less sensitive to places where relational style is not traditional. Or relational roles, okay, can be traditional sexual intimacy roles, but doesn't necessitate, still Dutch. Saturn runs the risk of being too archaic, but it also can give for duration and stability. So this is person when he's leader or political leader, he can bring certain sort of stability. And but if he enters war, it can take long before there is peace. It is a fixed sign. Saturn can, and the globalists very likely want him to perpetuate war because it's Mars sign, but that would not be in his favor. His malefic off sect is ruled by malefic out of sect. It's the opposite situation for my chart. For Saturn is malefic out of sect, but is ruled by Mars malefic off sect. Mars to him that rules his Saturn is but it's actually in Saturn sign, so there is reception because his Mars is in Aquarius. No, Mars Pisces, Mars ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is benefic for him. So still all comes down to for that Jupiter, okay, and Jupiter is in the 8th house. I need to take it out of the 8th house, but it also means that for leader of country is problematic because he is externally controlled. 8th house means you receive your wealth, and if this Jupiter rules for Venus, and it does because it rules for Saturn, okay? It rules for Saturn indirectly. So it's Jupiter stronger than Venus, and it means that he's still subjected for religious funding, but religious technologies. So very Luciferian church or Vatican, he's still subject to financial violence, basically, from this, that he needs to be liberated from. And I guess that's why he was supporting David Icke, because David Icke, he talks about the lineage of finances And it's very important to mention Vatican, but you cannot mention Vatican. I don't know if you mention Vatican. Vatican and Lucifer Church is the same, okay? Vatican has Luciferian telescopers, so it's the same thing. They would go, if you abused this child by church, then you would go to Lucifer, and then they abuse you there. Or if you abused by Lucifer, you say, I'm redeemed, and you get the funding. But just even whistleblowers are still tied into these fiscal relations that we haven't quite found a way. And if you ask for me, I live in Israel. I receive welfare because I said, give me debt or give me studies before academia. Yes, they gave me a lot of torture and they gave me studies. And so Israel is funded by Rothschild and I think Rockefeller, okay? So still, none of us that speak of it is still independent fiscally. We're all trying to make our way through and to make a changes of within the structure, and at least for abolish, child trafficking, at least for abolish medical welfare, where a person is brainwashed to go through medical procedures. If LGBTQ once was disease, now it's disease to the other way. If it was psychiatric diagnosis, you would get pill, get treated for that, so you wouldn't get murdered. Okay, it's like instead of murder, you come, we treat you, we try to change you. Here they try to change for your body, to create these hermaphrodites, but your gender has nothing to do with your body image. I'm going to say it again, your gender has nothing to do with your body image. It's true that for some people, like people do plastic surgery, I chose not to do plastic surgery for my nose. Other people choose yes to do, and both choices are equally okay. But if I did surgery, maybe I would have a bit better breathing. Whereas if I did a change on my body to have penis, then that would affect my fertility, but also my sexual energy, my nervous system, and a lot of things. You're still a human being, yes, but it's irreversible. It's true that some people are happy with gender affirming and maybe would kill themselves if not, yes, but it's completely different when there is a financial interest to tie you into the medical system forever. Because when you do for these things, just like diabetes, okay, why they don't curate you for diabetes? There is cure for diabetes, both types of diabetes, different a bit, but there is. And if it's just so many ways to enter your DNA, your blood, your wave of frequencies, your sense of validation, okay, feeling loved, and so on and so forth, and detoxify for whatever they put in there, so that you will be diabetic. Same for autism, but we have to be inclusive of people because autistic live in their own time and space for a reason. You see, I'm just making contact with this chart. He knows all that, which I speak, he knows all that. For sure, he knows all that. Okay? And so, yes, that is, I know that during campaign 2023, he was assaulted or attacked. I heard he's known for slandering his enemies. So this little vice, yes, it's interesting, slander. Oh, he has Mars not too far from Fomalhaut. And Mars Fomalhaut can give for a person who is, Mars is sharp words. Fomalhaut is very psychic. But the thing about this is that it can give for slander. The conjoining can give, it can protect you against slander. But and the Jupiter that rules this is with Uranus, so it's very difficult for him to control these things, and he can speak dirty. Okay. A good talisman for this is Sarasvati Yoga. Yes, I remember we had astrologer that had this problem. Yes, Mars Ketu with Fomalhaut. I remember it was so funny when then he did the Sarasvati, and it's like, well, he's less funny now, but it works better for his reputation. So yeah, what more I can say from the chart? Okay, let's address this Chiron. Chiron 22. Chiron 22 and Venus that rules it is in the 10th house with Saturn in the 7th. And Mars, Jupiter, there's some sort of risk. He runs the risk of assassination because of religion, through partnership, and as he does his thing in the world. So just being forces him to deal with death threats. Anti-assassination, good anti-assassination is a goal for him. But also the usual, Al-Qaeda and stuff like that. Then Balgidi for his career, very good. But he must correct for his slandering, okay, so the Saraswati Yoga. And so here political assassination can be because he's a bit whistleblower. Yes. And Venus is him, so can also be that he was required to do assassinations, kind of like to kill and be killed. So there is a wound around that. I don't know if he had to kill people, if he's like served in army or something like that, or in expendable children you have to be child murderer, child assassin. But here is the note and more for no, I'm not going to say it, for for the electricity or electrocution type, okay? So this type of programming. What else can I say? Chiron, around age 50. Yes, Algol can be highly protective for him. He is a person who he's a person who can actually enact for what of the good, the common good is, because but he needs to always work with Algol, with Beta per se, because she is going to, and then Algadi now, Algol and then Algadi have a square within them. Housing first appropriate for him, but here is emphasis on the feminine. The way that he preserves the feminine has to give place for LGBTQ, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does give place to LGBTQ. Just not the surgery, the forced surgery stuff. Okay, so surgery is one thing, forced surgery is another. And so it's very likely very personally touched by these subjects and genuinely cares. Because I totally believe it genuinely cares. Yes, sole beginning phase of Aquarius, okay, ruled by this Saturn again. So this Jupiter is very strong in his chart and is good part of his chart, but it is in the 8th house, so it calibrates on the trauma. So for him, let's say to work with Jupiter talisman, first of all, I wouldn't recommend because it would trigger the everything of it. If I try to think of something Jupiterian that can favor him, where's Leo in his chart? That would be the 4th house, right? 4th house. So, Regulus is, I think, is a must for everyone to work with, but for this Jupiter, because this Jupiter is the strongest planet in his chart, so it's also the best positioned, but it's conjoining, it magnifies his traumas, basically. I'm trying to think of something Jupiterian that could correct for this. And the fixed stars for Sagittarius is Antares, which is totally Valhalla, is Martian. And yes, and in his Mars we see this, okay, that's the slender thing with Fomalhaut. He would need a fixed star of Jupiterian qualities. I know Gol has some, Denebalgadi has some, those things. Something for something. I need fixed star in Sagittarius that could correct for this, to work directly with the 8th house. Alpeka can also protect his 7th house. I don't think he's that liable for scandals, like like sex scandals and stuff. I don't know where the Lilith is, but I don't think it's that. I think it's more this Jupiter, because it's the strongest planet. All leads to this Jupiter, and every time he's doing him, he's in giant troubles. This is so fucking relatable, but it's relatable in the sense that I can see what it's at. This guy is in more trouble than most does. He's very, very brave. Can be radicalized philosophy, like you tendency to radicalize to the other extreme, that would have to mitigate for, and it would have to be through Sagittarius. I would need a further deep study of the fixed stars in Sagittarius, because you can only connect these two, and this is the 8th house. Yes, because I need to. It sends me back to school, because I need to find a fixed star in Sagittarius that has a Jupiterian nature. I know some people use Antares. I know Christopher Warnock has a view of Antares that is different from, let's say, Caitlin Kopok and Austin Kopok from Sphere and Sundry. So I'm not ruling out Antares, but Antares is very Martian. And again, this Mars, you would have to work to correct this Mars. It's not impossible. You'll definitely need to work with Antares, but I would look for something that is giving this Jupiter correction, maybe through lunar mentions, maybe, I don't know. And it sent me back to school, okay, how to correct for this Jupiter. Yes, and to bring this Uranus out, bring it out of the 8th house. Is so much to teach and so much to give the world from here, and it's forcing him to do it in hidden way and to bring it through the sun. He can do that through the sun, but then the sun is in detriment in Aquarius. So Deneb Algedi, Algol, yes, Venus Aquarius. This Venus is not too far from Deneb Algedi, but it's not in orb. It's 28 degrees Aquarius. Okay, what's he getting? Oh, Aries would be. Ooh, he has. Oh, wait. He has. I talked about this Mars. He has Rahu. With Rahu in Aries right now. That's why he's been assaulted so much, because this Mars is getting him into troubles. And this Mars is sitting in his 11th house. Okay? So he's known mainly for scandals. He must correct for this, because, and now Rahu, he needs to work with Andromeda, and also Rahu is where the Aries in Aries is the Ubermensch. That's his hidden enemies. Okay, he needs to work with Andromeda to correct for this, because he is considered not inclusive. With Aries, you have to be inclusive, but he has to find a way to be inclusive, not to give up LGBT discourse, but to bring it for the medical welfare. That would be correct for him. But this Mars that rules his 12th house in the 11th, okay, Andromeda for reconciliation, release from captivity, because this is 12th house. Okay, Ra right now in 12th house for him is very dangerous. Okay, I don't like this Ra in this 12th house at all. So to bring for Andromeda, and yes, to bring for Andromeda. And it's also true, in Netherlands we have the problem Pim Fortuyn of PVV was assassinated. Then we have Geert Wilders, 20 years imprisonment. It's in prison, okay? He's in prison. He's not at home. He's in prison. And so we talk about that. And so Rao for the 12th right now can give such thing. And so I think right-wingers in Netherlands, they're very suppressed, because first of all, there's no really right wing in Netherlands. Okay, these are all like gender non-conforming or gay or pansexual or panerotic, and they care about this, and if it was not really right-wing in Netherlands, maybe for the economy, I don't, it's like, they didn't really get, you know, it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's kind of like the devil traveled to Georgia, but he didn't stay, he couldn't stay much, because it did Netherlands, and they don't buy this trickery. But you must also have to account for the fact that the attempt to create hermaphrodite is what enables a lot of this LGBTQ to begin with, under these very conditions. Okay, and so I think what I would, my prediction is that there will maybe attempt to sacrifice gender polarity, to sacrifice LGBTQs without medical welfare, to sacrifice gender polarity still. Okay, just I need a series of episodes to explain what I just said. Quantum theory. Anyway, you have to have the both. To have a phase, you have to have the both. Okay, you have to have the Schrödinger cat phase, and then you have to have the both, and so on. You have to have the non-gender to have the gender. It's a birthing process, and they try to interfere with that in all kinds of weird ways, because for the control of the polarity of the sexuality, and is to create for control for consciousness, but is keep poof it on them. So they canceled. They literally began to cancel quantum theory for M theory, which is like the same thing that you say with strings. It won't help you. It won't help you, and although it does move. So this is episode 1. Anything more I have to say about Thierry Baudet? No to self-study the fixed stars of Sagittarius or Jupiterian qualities. Regulus can still work here, I believe, but the Regulus that is accentuating on the Jupiter. Okay, I like the Regulus tree for Sphere and Sandry so much, it's still bringing up a lot. Okay, it's not a shortcut to Sun. It is, if Sun is problematic, you work to Regulus, but it's not a shortcut. I have to admit this, because it's not a shortcut. But it's something I would deeply recommend. Andromeda, absolutely must. And if you accentuate the Jupiterian on the Regulus, allows you for the shine and corrects for the Sun, and to correct for the Jupiterian, because I cannot access it from the 8th house directly, and I want to bring it out, which is going to be through the Sun, which is in his 10th house. So that is for how I see a person has to try trial and error on themselves. And now this is episode 1. I'm going to do my study and take a look at who this person is, and see for how this is delineated further. And I'm going to take a look at Lilith, because Lilith eclipses are coming up. But must use Andromeda to correct for this Rao. And Aries is the Ubermensch, but it is also about inclusivity. It's the people that were not included that feel like they have to be superhuman to become back included to society. Okay, that's the journey of the century, and so to correct for this, you call on Andromeda now, because Eris is in Andromeda constellation. So yes, of course, better per se than a Balgadi goes without saying. And I'll see you in next video.